Welcome back to Cityline. With me, I have someone that I would rearrange my schedule for just to sit and spend half hour talking. Well, I get 13 minutes, so lucky us. Please join me in welcoming the Executive Director of the Tacoma Rescue Mission, Duke Paulson. Hello, Duke.
Hi, Amanda. It's so great to be here, and I gladly rearrange my day to be with you. So we do this together well.
That's right. So let's get right to it. The rescue mission, it plays a vital role in our community. Boy, does it ever. And I'm sure, and I know, and I'm sure the pandemic has put some additional stress on the work you do because it's such an intimate service that you provide. What are some of the needs the mission has, and how can our viewers help first and foremost?
That's such a wonderful question, and it's so loaded with potential because the pandemic has put such a strain on people in general, and for people experiencing homelessness, it's just been horribly scary. Where do I go? What do I do? How do I hunker down? The traditional, the way the city and public would push encampments around kind of stopped because of social distancing and wanting people to stay safe. But that has allowed growth and a lot of people staying out in different areas a lot longer than they have in the past. Really, our mission is to provide that safe place, that safe food and shelter and loving environment where people can come in who want to move on from being homeless any longer. And so for people that are coming and helping, we are still serving meals. We're still doing it to-go style just to be safe, but also because we're still using our cafeteria as a dorm because we just don't have enough practical space for all the people in need. Mm-hmm. And but our meals, our outreach teams, our tutoring and our job support teams, and our volunteers that work with our youth in our preschool. There's so many different ways. So people that can come to us come and have, basically our question is, what strengths do you have or what interests do you have? Because you can help in everything from youth to adults to education assistants to just practical hands-on weeding and yard work or serving meals and cutting and prepping vegetables, all of which make this whole system work because otherwise we couldn't handle the volume of people that we do. So we're definitely driven by volunteers and supported by them. And the number of people that have come back to help us this year has been tremendous because it's still a little bit intimidating and scary, but we're doing everything we can to keep things safe and keep people engaged.
I love that. As you were talking, that phrase, necessity is the mother of invention, came in my head because, boy, we've used the word pivot and nimble till we're blue in the face, but what you just said is exactly that. So amidst all of that, which is amazing in itself, if you were only doing that, wow. But in addition, you've recently opened a women's shelter and talk with me about the naming and the naming ceremony and the open house.
Yeah, we finally were able to celebrate, and it was still a little awkward with the recent increase. And we thought if we did something in August, end of September or beginning of September, that would be a really safe time to do something outdoors. And it was, and we had a fair number of people come, and we did a big outdoor safe distance celebration. Because when we opened the women's shelter, we were finishing construction. We were at 85% completed when the pandemic hit and construction crews had to stop. And it was so frustrating to be at the finish line where we're just seeing, once we paint and do finishing touches, we're ready to go. And then everything stopped. And then we were able to open, it was the weekend after July 4th. We were able to open the shelter, but we couldn't celebrate and we couldn't really, but we just wanted to get people in and start serving the ways that we could. And so we have now in 1 year, it was kind of fun to do it a little bit after the fact because normally you open and you're like, here's what it's going to be used for. But now we're saying, wow, we have 1 year where we've served thousands of ladies that have come through, thousands of nights that people have stayed in that women's shelter, over 500 different ladies that have stayed there, and over 50 that have actually moved from being homeless into being permanently housed and in a safe location from the time that we've had this open. So being able to celebrate that was wonderful. And to be able to invite Ernie Carino's family, because Ernie was the person who really started asking the city and put the initial money to challenge, if we can build something, I'll put my money down to start this. And so we wanted to name the building after him because it was really his start, and his family. Ernie loved home and he loved family. So they really wanted it to be a family home place. And I had to push back with them and say, I love that idea. And I love the care and heart of it, but we can't call it a home because it's still a shelter. And our goal is still ultimately to help people move through here into their home that they're going to be at. But we're a safe place to transition. And so we end up settling on the Ernest J. Carino Safe Place for Women as the name, because that still, it brings in the safety and the love that we want to have, but we couldn't call it a home, and we didn't want to call it shelter because that felt cold. So that's ultimately where we ended up naming it. And it was a beautiful time together, and we had a lovely day.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And Duke, one of the things I love about you is that you have the ability to see the full picture of a lot of situations. And then that is how you navigate the solution. Because as my grandmother used to say, there's 3 sides to every situation.
Yes.
So good on you for working through that and finding a wonderful name. So we talked about, you touched on earlier with the pandemic, community members are still able to volunteer. Let's talk about fall. Fall is here, Duke. So what are we looking at in terms of what the needs are for the shelter with fall, inclement weather, housing sweeps happening? Bottom line is, what can we do for you in the fall?
Yeah, the fall is really the start of the busy season for the rescue mission. So people that have been able to stay outside and camp in the summer, and the past 4 months have been beautiful. And I hope everyone in the community has enjoyed that. It's been wonderful to be outside and have all these sunny days and warm weather. Now, as the weather turns cold, the first real cold, stormy days that are going to happen in the next few weeks, all of a sudden people start coming into the mission. Like, okay, I can't just stay outside under a tarp. It's when you're wet and all of your belongings get wet, everything becomes cold and miserable. It's really our kind of grand opening push into the year. Okay, now we're really bringing everyone in, and they don't want to go back out. So how do we help you provide a safe, warm place now, and then identify and address the barriers that are causing you to be homeless, and say, how can we help you fix that? How can we help you move on and get an ID or get a part-time job, or we'll talk to landlords and try and get you started in a place. All the things that we do to try and help people move into being permanently housed again. And so this becomes really our vital time of the year in now through the holiday season. And this is also when the outpouring from the community comes in, because people, I think everyone realizes that. We feel that. We all start to hunker down with our family and have more soup and wear sweaters and coats all the time again. And you realize how uncomfortable it is for our neighbors in need who don't have those opportunities. And so this is our start of our grand opening season of the big push of bringing everyone in and helping as many people as we can again.
You have said that so beautifully as I think about some of the things that I see happening in the fall. And you're right. I mean, I went to the Farmer's Almanac this morning. I was like, ooh, we are in for a wet, cold one. So my last question for you, when you talk about shelters, what trends are you seeing on shelter availability in Tacoma as a whole? So our viewers get a really good, 30,000 feet looking down point of view here.
Yeah, there's such an increased awareness. And this week, the county executive is unveiling his budget proposal to the county council, and there's a real emphasis to address homelessness with the county. And so the county has been talking with us and with other providers about how can we continue to innovate and provide creative ways to help people. I think in a couple months, I'll be able to talk more about it, but we have multiple ideas on the table that we're going to be working through the county with to try and help more people. And I want to do it in a way that is a long-term community benefit, where we're increasing not just the help right now, which is important, but also the throughput of helping people in the long term get into permanent housing, get jobs, reestablish their life and lifestyle in a way that is not experiencing homelessness any longer. And that's a long-term drain of that bathtub that's filling up, so that we're draining that system and for the community long-term benefit. So those things are coming, and I think honestly, we are still struggling with pandemic effects too. So being really careful. We have rapid testing here that we do daily with people. We have weekly vaccination drives that we're helping people get vaccinated. But we're just short on space. And so we are still using community partners and trying to expand and help house as many people as possible in this time. And so we're balancing all of that. It's going to be a creative and crazy time. It's also a time of opportunity. And so just following this politically and where things go is going to be really exciting. And I think I'm really praying that we have good community support for that need to say, let's help people and let's have a long-term perspective in this as well. So it's not just if you spend money and if you rent a whole bunch of hotel rooms, you're going to use a whole lot of money fast, versus how can we really build our system? And that's what I'm trying to be a part of.
You know, as I walk around the city and I see the tents, and my heart breaks. What you are talking about in terms of looking long term, the tent cities are an example of not looking long term. That's part of the reason, and I can say that because we have those, because we don't have any long term solutions yet for what's happening on those streets and why people have to live in tents. So Duke, I thank you so much for what you do, for you and your team. And I also thank you every single day when you go home, finding the hope and the faith and the healing to come back to work every day after your heart has witnessed some very heartbreaking situations. It's that kind of stress that is put on our leaders that we need to remember, because your job is not easy. Your job does not stop when you walk in the door at 9 o'clock at night. I wasn't going to say 5 because that's not realistic. So Duke, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and all the prayers and support from my staff that are experiencing that is actually the hardest part.
Yes.
It's the joyful part of making a difference, and the hardest part is seeing issues where we can't make a difference and you can't fix everything. And it is a challenge, but it's you get up every day and keep going. So thank you, Amanda, for saying that.
You're welcome, and thank you for being here. Well, that wraps up another great segment of Cityline. It is always a pleasure and a privilege to be in your home. We've given you a great hour of things that are happening in Tacoma that you can access online or socially distant, safe-wise. And above all, I want to ask you to please get yourself vaccinated, wear your masks, and look out for your neighbors, because we are still in a time where we all are in this together. And when you do that, come on back to Cityline. I'll be waiting for you. Take care.
Tacoma, that's my home. Oh, you're from Tacoma's where you'll stay. Oh, you're from Seattle. Oh, you're from LA. Oh, you're from Chicago. But Tacoma's where you'll stay, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. From the fire